Welcome back to Talking Insights here at SMR. We've got a really fantastic session today. If your goal is to find joy in life, this is definitely the session to listen in on. Today we've got Andrew Cannon here with us, and we're going to talk all about a really interesting project that's tried to discover how people actually find joy in their life. Andrew, tell us a little bit about this project that you've worked on. I mean, it sounds like you've used AI to actually figure out the intersection of human emotions and try to understand what brings people joy in life. Tell us more about the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So the project actually goes back a few years when I decided I wanted to use my sort of research skills to do something good in the world. And I found that, a lot of the insights, knowledge, a lot of the methodology can also be used to uncover the drivers of joy. What are the barriers to joy? So we did traditional research back at the beginning before the AI tools came out to sort of try and understand this. And then we also did quite a bit of work with different projective techniques to try and understand people's joy even further. And now working with FlexMR, who run the platform for us, we were able to leverage AI really to get the massive unstructured data.
Right.
So, having people answer structured questionnaires, what drives your joy, is one thing. When you have all their data of how they're actually talking, how they're actually living joy or not joy, you get a different level of granularity and understanding.
That is fascinating. It's about reading almost in between the lines, right? I mean, just asking people what brings them joy is one thing, but really kind of understanding, taking all of this open-end text and really understanding the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
So tell us, with this kind of second generation AI, what were you able to uncover? What was the approach? How did the technology help you?
Yeah, so the technology helped us really enabling the massive information, right? So, we're talking thousands of people in chat forums for over a year and a half, right? So a total massive data. And each week we would inspire them to talk about a different topic.
Interesting.
Right? So they could be talking about gratitude, or they could be talking about exercise or volunteering or their family life, right? So huge mass of different data, different topics that they were talking about. So the AI really enabled, that amount of data to be processed and categorized in a way that we couldn't do it. The good news is that it didn't cover completely different insights. So, we could relax and say, our model basically works still. We have this recipe for joy model, which is based on basically 4 core ingredients of your well-being, your sense of belonging, your positive impact you're having on others, and also then your experiences, right? In particular, nature is a great bringer of joy. And so, this model held, but in addition, we got granularity, into what are the particular spices within that model.
Very interesting. I mean, it almost sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're kind of giving some prompts each week, but it's really open-ended. People are able to kind of take these discussions wherever they want to. It's not like you're moderating this. I mean, it can really end up anywhere where this kind of group, this community takes the conversation. And it sounds like that's where the power of AI came in, because it's not like you're giving people a structured script to go follow, right? You're really trying to get in there and just see how people even interpret these prompts and where they take the conversation.
Yeah, we try to give 2 different types of prompts each week. So one is like a more in-depth philosophical discussion, right? And then one is more of a fun, light-hearted approach, right? Because we know some people aren't really willing to put the work into adding more joy into their lives, right? They're just looking for inspiration. So for them, these sort of lighter topics make it a way where they contribute without feeling that, hold on, I'm not such a deep thinker on this topic of gratitude, that I don't want to participate in the conversation because these other people are like philosophizing on the power of gratitude and taking a spiritual angle maybe to that. And they just want to say, no, I just want to show how gratitude's coming up in my life, understand from other people what type of practices they're doing in, a practical sense.
Fantastic.
Say, okay, yeah, I can do a journal too. I can, thank my parents for letting me grow up, things like that.
Very interesting. Oh, I mean, it's interesting. You've kind of talked about the approach here, and I know that, there's lots of researchers that are listening into this podcast and trying to figure out, okay, how do you go about something like this? How do you use AI? But I also know a lot of people are going to be looking for, well, what were the outcomes? How do I find more joy in my life? So tell us a little bit about that. What were some of the most kind of significant barriers to finding joy, and how would you kind of recommend people overcome some of those barriers to find joy in their life?
Right, so we say use the 40% rule.
Okay.
Right, and the 40% rule tells you that 40% of your happiness on average is in your control. 50% is basically in somebody else's power, and 10% is just random stuff that happens. Right? But you've got this 40% where you can actually influence your feeling of joy. And so to focus your energy and your effort only on that 40% and let other things go. So, the climate challenge is a great example.
Right.
Stress about things that you can do, right? Am I recycling? Could I, take the bus instead of driving my car? These things, but don't worry about the polar ice caps melting.
Right.
That's not your challenge today. Right. Yes, accept it. So I don't accept it. I'll do my little bit, but otherwise let it go. It's not in your sphere of influence at the moment. And that's why a lot of people are having stress, because they're looking at all these challenges in the world and feeling a bit of guilt.
Right.
Saying, hey, how do I do this? Should I have kids? You're young people, right?
Right.
And saying, well, no, that's not the response to this, right? We need young kids in the world to actually help change this pattern. But focus on what you can focus on, and realize that God's given you these 5 senses, or maybe 6 senses, 7 senses. I don't remember, but let's focus just on the 5, right? And each day, each of those senses gives you millions of opportunity for microdoses of joy, right? Touching this, talking with you, right? All these little things, you can get joy from these micro moments. You don't need to go to the Grand Canyon to appreciate nature, right? You can see the butterfly on your windowsill, right? Or the way your cactus flower is now slightly blooming from what it was yesterday, right? And you take it down to that level instead of saying, I'm going to be happy when I'm on holiday, or I'm going to be joyful when I retire, right? Really is finding it in the moment, but the only way you can do that is when you know what to focus on, right? These are the things, and accept that life is hard sometimes, right? So, we deal with a lot of people who have real challenges, serious depression, anxiety, and so on. And so what is joy for them is very different from somebody, has no challenges in that way in their life. And so each person has to sort of set their own sort of goals and not compare. And obviously social media today, unfortunately, allows people to compare, and you just see the best side of everybody, and you think, oh, their life's perfect, and to realize, no, you really need to focus on where you are today and what little changes you can make in your life to add a little bit of joy. Right.
So this is a really interesting point, because, clearly you're dealing with a lot of people where this is a very sensitive subject. People are going through many challenges. You've got a diverse group of people in this community. How did you kind of work with the AI to ensure that it's being responsible in terms of how it's unpacking these things? It's not bringing bias into the equation. We've all heard countless stories of AI where it kind of takes the bias and runs with it. How'd you guys kind of work through that challenge?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's still something that we're only scratching the surface at, and really using the AI at this stage was really sort of a post-analysis phase. So I think the interesting stuff is what we're going to do next, which is try and what happens when we use the AI to engage actively in a conversation.
Interesting.
Right? And how, in terms of, moderating, how does it introduce bias into that process? We don't know yet. Because in theory, when I deal with the AI, it's got actually really good empathy skills. A lot better than your average person. You'll probably get more empathy from ChatGPT than you would from your
that's interesting.
Person.
Yeah.
And so, because, it's well read up. It's read all the self-help books. It knows all the things, and it knows how to present it in a non-conflictory and non-sort of judgmental way. So it's actually pretty good at that. But I think the bias is my concern. That when you're dealing with a diverse set of people, you want to make sure that it is responsive to that and culturally appropriate and so on. So the jury's out on that one, but I'm excited the next phase of research
That's really
we're going to be
fascinating.
doing to try and uncover that a bit more, because I think it's, there's so many problems in the world, and there's not enough therapists, there's not enough psychiatrists.
Right.
We really need to start using these tools to, even if it's like doing the beginning of the work, right? Helping people at the beginning, and then really, okay, this person really does now need to go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Great, so try and replace that service whatsoever. But the beginning phase to help people understand where they are today, to sort of see themselves, self-reflect. I think AI can help people with that self-reflection process.
Very interesting. It's such an interesting insight that in some ways the AI from an analysis perspective is almost already more unbiased than the human. But from an interviewer perspective, that's kind of where things are yet to be seen. But there is this huge advantage that you're bringing up of scale, right? That, hey, all these people that don't have access to therapists and who are able to talk about these things, maybe AI can be that first layer. And we face the same thing in the insights professional, right? And how do you interview as many people as possible in this kind of unstructured way? Clearly, AI is going to play a role in that.
Oh, absolutely. I hope so. And I think our challenge is to train it, in a way where it's responsible and acts responsibly in the process.
Makes sense. Well, Andrew, this has been fascinating. Before we leave, what are a few practical tips that the audience can take to build a little bit more joy in their lives? You've kind of mentioned a few: getting outside to nature, meditating, being grateful. What are some of the big ones that you'd give folks as a takeaway?
Right. Well, it all depends where you are on the joy scale.
Okay.
Right. So first and foremost, your well-being. Right. Look after your body. It's a temple, literally. Right. So look after that. Look after your emotional, your mental well-being as well, spiritual well-being if you're that way inclined. But in general, your well-being is the foundation that you need at the bottom of the house. Right. Next to that, you have belonging. Right? Humans are herd animals. Okay. So you need to have a strong sense of belonging. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're very much in a loneliness pandemic. I think the US Surgeon General compared it to costing the economy more than tobacco.
Wow.
Right? And when we did our own research, I think it was as many as 1 in 8 people said they got no friends. Right? Nobody would call at the middle of the night to say, I need help. Right? Lots of followers, lots of social media connections, but real friends. And so that sense of belonging is super important. And we know that a lot of people can't improve their well-being alone.
Right.
You need a buddy. You need a coach. You need help. And so that community helps them do that. When they're a member of the Year of Joy community, they can work on themselves while getting support from somebody and realizing, I was working on my physical well-being, but, I had a whole pack of crisps last night.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Like I said, I did that last week too, So that's the foundation. But, a lot of people are already above that. And so your path to joy from there really means you're of service to other people. Right? How can I contribute? How can I ultimately love unconditionally? How can I give back? How can I be part of the greater good? Right? This sort of concept of abundance, of sharing, that becomes your path to joy. Right? It's not doing another 1,000 steps at that point. Right? It's really, hey, how do I use my time to help other people? And that gives you joy. That doing it not only for them, but also for you.
Right.
Right? Because you're serving. So that's what I'd recommend that. And then the experiences, as I mentioned, that make sure you're using your senses that you've been given every day to enable you to feel joy.
Right.
And nature's a great way to do that. Hobbies. Hobbies, get a hobby, get more hobbies. So these are just some of the way, there's a million paths to joy. Everybody has to find their own joy. But these building blocks are common to everybody. And, we can help people start moving their own joy needle, so to speak.
Amazing. Well, nowhere in there did I hear make more money. So that's interesting. But I think this is some really good practical tips for folks out there who are looking for joy, which I imagine is many of us. and some really interesting tips on the insights approach and how to kind of take these unstructured big communities and kind of use AI to pull the insights out.
Yeah. Can I just pick up on the money bit? I mean, the money is interesting in that it's a bit like technology.
Yeah.
It's not evil.
Right.
So our desire is to get more money so we can do more good. Right. So it's not the actual money, it's what you do with the money.
Interesting.
So, when we work with EQJOY on the children's emotional intelligence and the children's mental health, it's a charity. We want to attract as much money as we can so that we can help as many children as we can. We don't want to do this from a state of scarcity or poverty. We want to do it, say, hey, we need more money than Elon Musk because we're going to do good stuff with that money. We're not going to burn fuel going to Mars, right? We're actually going to help all of the kids develop their emotional intelligence, develop their resilience so that they don't commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Right?
Makes sense.
Give us the money. We will do good with the money.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for the chat today. This has been Andrew Cannon talking about the art and science of joy. I'm Aseem Badshah with Question Pro, and this is SMR Talking Insights.
You can't know the answer to a question without first asking it. But how do you ask the questions? More importantly, how will people answer them? That is where Question Pro comes in to support you, empowering you to build and deploy amazing experiences that collect clean and useful data. With our powerful online-based, built-for-enterprise survey platform, it is easy to create, collect, and act on your data. Create an impactful survey in minutes from scratch by importing an existing survey, or choose from over 350 ready-made templates that have been vetted by our expert market research professionals. Add as many respondent contacts as you want and share them through multiple distribution methods. Collect offline data and use white-labeled mobile apps to ensure data collection is extensive and up-to-date. Take advantage of our specialized services to manage enterprise projects, as well as the instances where the insights collection is complicated but imperative. Then, leave the rest to Question Pro. Sit back and watch us work magic as the data is analyzed and compartmentalized into functional insights automatically. Create role-based access reports in addition to exporting the data and insights into your proprietary toolset, allowing you to focus on what's most important, making smart decisions. Question Pro, survey software that gets the job done.